Now we're calling on the African National Council. We're calling on the Southwest African People's Organization. Now! And the children cry, freedom. On the bed door rise, freedom. See my people crying for freedom. Freedom. And the children weep, freedom. And red blood runs weak, freedom. See my people crying for freedom. 400 years now we've been working as your slave. Why can't you free us? Let us have a separate ways. Equal rights and justice wasn't made for just one man. Demand our freedom cause we need a liberation. Hey, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, written in the Human Rights of Declaration. So, whoa, whoa, whoa. And the children weep, and red blood run thick. See my people crying for freedom. Hear the children cry, and does that soul rise? See my people crying for freedom. We need a freedom in a full equality. Freedom for Mandela from apartheid misery. We don't need no sanction from no big time hypocrites. While we there are suffer, they gon' play in politics. Cause hey, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, written in the Human Rights of Declaration. So, whoa, whoa, and the children cry, and the dead toll rise. See my people crying for freedom. And the children weep, and red blood run thick. See my people crying and they're weeping and they're wailing and they're crying and they're dying for freedom. Wow! Right now, we are a people, trodden from Genesis right down to Revelation.
All right, folks. Yes, it is about that time.
The 12 tribes of Israel.
5 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock in Dominica. And the rest of our Eastern Caribbean. Welcome, one and all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the program called Civic Vibes. That program is aired each and every Sunday from 6 o'clock. So yes, today being the 19th of October 2025, another program awaits you guys. Tell Lou to tell Sue, tell Paul to tell all. That yes, the Civic Vibes program is on. Where we usually always have a conversation about our country or something about our country each and every Sunday from just about that time. Brother Nasio Fontaine, thank you, my brother, for starting us off with this one called Freedom. A very powerful, powerful number indeed. If you're a very conscious one out there, special greetings to you and welcome as well.
See my people crying for freedom.
As we're about to take flight here, folks, please share that live information. Share that live with your friends, families, or your contacts, huh?
People crying for free.
Because the information to be dispensed here this afternoon
We need the freedom in a fully
is of vital importance to you. Yes, you and you and you. Those of you in the region, I've not forgotten you. Thank you for your eyes and ears each and every time. And yes, further afield, much further afield, good evening to you or good morning to you, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the wood.
freedom.
We at Civic Vibes, we appreciate your time each and every Sunday.
The human right.
To some of you, it's already Monday morning.
So, and the children cry.
A very powerful guest in the name of Mr. Nicholas George is gracing us with his presence this evening.
People crying for freedom.
As we're about to have a very serious conversation with this brother.
And the children,
I call him a no-nonsense brother, a well-respectable man in the Commonwealth. And yes, out there as well, further afield.
the willing and the crying.
So Mr. George is on. That is Nicholas George. He's our guest here this evening for the next about hour, hour and three quarter, yeah?
From Genesis.
And yes, till we bring it down at 8 o'clock tonight. Basically, the topics at hand tonight.
The 12 tribes of Israel.
Yes, you heard me right. The topics that are at hand tonight. It is the role of the RSS, the Regional Security Services in the member countries. Yes, the role of that unit, the RSS.
People crying for freedom.
Lately, some of these members of that unit, they were in Dominica for some time. And so that name, the RSS, was on the lips of a lot of Dominicans, I can tell you that. Asking all sorts of questions.
400 years now we've been working.
So who's better to sort of, put it in perspective for us as to why they were here?
Equal rights and justice wasn't made for
the process by which they are called in here or any other CARICOM member state.
Freedom of expression. Freedom of
Their role as well. Mr. Nicholas George, a former senior police officer.
So,
We'll be basically unpacking that for us this evening. And yes, last week we started, a week before, we started on this confirmation process, this confirmation drive that was supposed to have gotten on this week, Wednesday. Some of you, yes, I know some of you have already gotten confirmed. So that conversation continued this afternoon with the brother as well. All of you there already on the live feed, thank you very much. Again, let me say apology for the absence of Mr. Thomas, that is Alvin Thomas. Alvin is maybe somewhere in Dominica. Doing a very good job indeed. Alvin, good evening to you, my brother, in a very, very special way. Dana Philbert Peterson, you're there. Marshall Lawrence, you're there. Guvelma Hambrin, you're also there. Eliza Louis Gomes, you're there as well. Juanita Prince, Carol Bruni, Henrietta James, Claudette Durand. Brother Trones, good evening to you, sir. Conrad Coffee, Dorival, Drago, Bernadette, Myla, Clyde Gregoire, Magdalene Augustine, Owen Prosper, and the list goes on and on and on. Claraline Warrington, yes, you're there as well. Mali Austria, you're missing. Good evening to you. I hope you're okay, huh? Mali Austria is one of the first to sign on each and every Sunday, but she's absent here this evening in terms of her name. And so, Mali, I hope you're doing very well. Brother Simeon George, good evening to you.
And so we are people.
Well, first of the bat, as we begin here, I want to pause just a little while and say a special good afternoon and heartfelt sympathy to brother, the friends, the loved ones, the family of none other than Mr. Julius Timothy, that is. We heard that Mr. Timothy passed earlier. Yes, Mr. George, you are Mr. George, you're shocked? That is news all over from this morning, Mr. George. Mr. Julius Timothy passed earlier this morning. And so we from Civic Vibes, we want to, sort of take some time off and recognize this brother, maybe sometime next week. Well, not next week. We don't have a program next week, sorry. But in the future, we'll be doing something in the memory of Mr. Timothy. Timothy, all of us know this brother to be a very astute businessman in Dominica, politician as well. He wore many hats. And so the good Lord decided to call him home sometime earlier this morning. He was ailing for some time though, so to some of us, it's no surprise. But whenever that enemy called death comes around, it always hits hard. And so I know, Jason, you and the family out there, you guys are grieving at this time. So we condole with you in very, very a special way at this time. All right, just before we started, Mr. George, let me just take at least, a minute or two, play this one in the memory of Mr. Julius Timothy.
Oh, yeah. If you give a little more than you take, and if you try to fix more than you break, if you're the kind who takes the time to help a stranger in the rain, there's a place for people like you. If you stand up for those down on their knees and lend a voice to those who cannot speak, if you shine a little light, give sight to the ones who've lost their way, there's a place for people like you. I've heard up there the streets are made of gold, and when you get there, there's a hand to hold. I believe when your days down here are through, there's a place up there for people like you.
Special dedicated to the man.
If you walk around with your heart on your sleeve,
Mr. Julius Timothy.
And if you're trying to be the change you want to see,
to your family at this time,
if you lay down,
to your friends, loved ones,
someone,
every life you imparted,
there's a place,
the staff at ACS,
like you. The streets are made of gold,
and your domino friends, the Swansea Club.
And when you get there, there's a hand to hold. I believe when your days down here are through.
I believe when your days down here are through,
for people like,
there is a space for people like you. Gone, but will never be forgotten. A very generous brother indeed. Contributed to Dominica and Dominicans. So journey on, brother, journey on, rest well.
I heard up there the streets are made of gold.
So just wanted to pay, tribute to brother Timothy at this time, his grieving family at this time. Nicholas George, I got the impression in the face that you were shocked.
No, not really. I had learned earlier this morning
okay.
of his passing. And I too, my family joins me in extending condolences to his family. He was a very good friend of mine. He was a friend of mine. And when I joined the United Workers' Party, he had already left the United Workers' Party. But I can't recall an instant that I ever attended any meeting of the United Workers' Party where any person within the membership or the leadership of the United Workers' Party said anything ill about Mr. Julius Timothy. I can't recall that happening in my presence. He was well respected throughout Dominica and his political life. And he ran a good race. And may his soul, the soul of all the faithful departed in Christ, rest in peace.
Yes, indeed, indeed.
Shine a little light, give sight to the ones who've lost their way.
So yes, folks, we are mourning the loss
For people like you,
of a very, very good soul indeed.
I've heard up there the street.
In the name of Mr. Julius Timothy.
And when you get there, there's a hand to hold.
I can't remember talking to anybody about this brother and they having, you know, any bad thing or negative things to say about him.
Up there for people.
So yes, may his soul rest in eternal peace.
If you walk,
but his memory and work will live on. Yes, all of you who are grieving at this time, be it you lost a loved one, whatever ailment you're going through, be it with infirmities,
down your life for
whatever that sickness is,
you saved. There's a place.
We at Civic Vibes, we empathize with you or sympathize with you, whatever it is. Just hold on, people, hold on. Today you may be going through a very, very dark hour.
You get there, there's a hand.
But tomorrow will be greater.
I believe when your days down here are through, there's a place up there for people like you.
All right, all of you expressing your word of condolences, messages to Mr. Timothy and his family at this time. Thank you very much on the live feed. If I get a chance, I'll go through some of these sometime later. But yes, Mr. George, we are here. It's 20 minutes already past the hour of 6 o'clock. Again, I want to publicly express Civic Vibes. We want to publicly express our gratitude, our thanks, our appreciation, Mr. George, for you accepting first and foremost the invitation when I reached out to you earlier this week, and for you making time off your Sunday, that is, to be here with us to talk some matters of national importance. Thank you very much, Mr. George, for making the time.
Thank you for inviting me, sir. It's my pleasure to be of assistance to our country on matters that concerns the growth and development of our country, the Commonwealth of Dominica. So it's my pleasure to be on your program, to be able to assist wherever it is felt that I can assist.
Indeed, because Mr. George, a lot of people, when they see our guests on Civic Vibes appear each and every Sunday, a lot of people think it is, you know, sort of what I normally say, wash your foot thing and come, but it is not. There's a lot of sacrifice that must go into that. There are a lot of hours in terms of preparation. Your time could be spent elsewhere. And so we always appreciate persons, you know, giving us the nod in terms of the approval to come in on and speak. Not just off the head, but do the necessary research and speak truth to power. So again, Mr. George, I know you're a man, you're a man of the books. And so this evening, Mr. George, whatever you say, as I normally say, people can take it to the bank and they will get, in turn, solid information that can be translated into cash.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, Mr. George, let's get right into it in the interest of time. We in Dominica, they talk on Dominicans' lips for some time now within the past month or so have been the talk of the RSS, the Regional Security Services in the region, that is. We also can well remember the RSS, members of that unit in Dominica, just on the heels of our 2019 general elections. And they or that situation left a very sour or bitter taste in a number of people's mouth, as it were, especially the people who were affected directly, Salisbury and environs to be precise. And so whenever that name is mentioned in Dominica, the RSS, you normally get that alarm, or persons are very uptight. You get that kind of fear. And so, Mr. George, you're a former police officer. At least you should know something about the RSS. And so that is where we want to start with you this evening in terms of the RSS. Can you just break it down for us? Well, even before we go there, Mr. George, the program that you run is sort of, universal. And so with technology, there are a lot of persons who are signing on and who may not know you, maybe seeing you for the very first time. Can you just give us a brief intro? Just who is Mr. Nicholas George?
Nicholas George is a son of the soil, born in Collyho, raised very humbly in Collyho. I had my travels and challenges as I grew up as a young man. I had the opportunity to join the police force in 1972, and I served for 39 and a half years in that. I believe I served with distinction. It is left for others to say how they felt that I served. And during that period of time, I tried to give quality service to the people of Dominica and the region, because I did serve in the region as well. I served in Trinidad as a staff officer when we were preparing for Cricket World Cup. 2007, I was a police representative on the staff of the planning unit, and I served as a staff officer within the RSS itself, responsible for plans and intelligence. And on the intelligence part, I can say that when I got there, 2 days after I'd gotten there, I went to the director, who was Mr. Watson, Grantley Watson, may his soul rest in peace. And I said to him that he doesn't have an intelligence unit. And he said, well, I think I can agree with you, but when people come in my office and say those kind of things, they have a responsibility to write a paper. And I did. Within 3 days, I gave him a 24-page paper on intelligence, how to set up an intelligence unit within the RSS. And he read it at home and came back the next morning and called me in and said whether that paper was mine. And I said, yes. And he said, but it was voluminous and things. So I told him I didn't think that they wanted a slacker. I thought they asked for a worker at the RSS, and Dominica's government sent me here. But if they wanted a slacker, they could send me back to Dominica, because we don't have money to waste. Our economy is under trouble. We don't have money to waste for me to be here. I can be in Dominica working and doing something. So I do not know if he got offended by that. Anyway, he endorsed the paper that I had written, and I was cleared to be the intelligence officer, the manager of the intelligence unit of the RSS. And so I served in the police force at different ranks. I rose to the rank of acting deputy chief of police in Dominica, and I retired as a superintendent of police. I commanded a number of units and divisions. I think I had a good stint. Again, I'm saying it's left for those with whom I serve and the people who I served in Dominica to say what they have to say about my service. Whilst on the RSS and the intelligence, and then joining it with the question that we have, is that I am of the opinion, I'm hoping that the RSS's coming into Dominica was predicated on strong and good and reasonable intelligence, that coming here should not be a mere political stunt. It should be based on sound intelligence. And to have sound intelligence, there is the need to share intelligence in advance. So that is one of the things that I sought to establish at the RSS, in getting an intelligence unit that headquartered at the RSS, the centralized office in Barbados, and with all the participating states being members and sharing intelligence on a regular basis, because that is what the director of the RSS would require to make a determination whether the request being made to him is valid, and not a whim or flimsy whim that somebody says, we need assistance, we need RSS assistance, and then we gather our troops and we send them to the country, particularly in Dominica. So it is my hope that the request is based on intelligence, and intelligence that can be validated by the RSS itself, because it had been itself been gathering intelligence, which is its responsibility anyway, on what is happening within the region. So that is on my stint as a former officer. With respect to the RSS itself, the concept of the RSS really came through the mind, I think, of former Prime Minister of Barbados, Tom Adams, when we had the overthrow of the Eric Gary government by Maurice Bishop in March, I think it was, of 1979. And then December of 1979, a group of people sought to take over. They did take over Union Island in St. Vincent, and were claiming the independence for Union Island, whatever their political reasons were. And a request was made for help, and Tom Adams dispatched troops to St. Vincent. Arising out of that, the uprising was put down, and arising out of that, he threw out the idea that there was need for a regional force to assist each member state when the need arises. And that thing mushroomed into it being some of the members, 4 of them, with Barbados signing a memorandum of understanding in 1981. It was upgraded to a treaty in 1982, and in 1996, it was formalized as a legal entity signed in Grenada in 1996. So the treaty now it has legal standing, it's filed with the United Nations, and each member state has passed in their parliament laws that are pertaining to the establishment of the regional security system. So the regional security system is a creature of statute now. It is governed through a treaty, but it's also a creature of statute. So Dominica, Antigua, Barbados, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and Grenada are the current members of the RSS as established. So they signed in Grenada in 1996 to make it a treaty organization. Before, you had a memorandum of understanding. And during that time, there were different times when different states, contracting states, appealed for help in the difficulties that they were going. I too, I served in Grenada in 1983 when Prime Minister Maurice Bishop was killed, and we had to, the RSS dispatched troops in support of the Grenada government, or the people of Grenada, to re-establish governance, proper governance in Grenada. I served there then with some outstanding Dominican police officers. And So the need for that kind of cooperation and collaboration magnified itself in the Grenada operation. So I support the establishment of the regional security system. I support the treaty. I support the articles that are within the treaty. And it is my hope that the political directorates within the region that are going to utilize the treaty will always be doing so in the best interest of the citizens of the country that is making a request, and by extension, the citizens of the Caribbean. And it should not be driven by political tribalism or hatred within a political system in any member state. And merely because you believe I have extra troops somewhere that I can call on, then I'm going to be intransigent in dealing with issues, political issues in your own country, knowing that you have backup. That's not what the RSS was established for. And I think that is one of the reasons why the RSS coming into Dominica in 2019 got so much disaffection, because people felt in Dominica that it was an abuse of the services of the regional security system. When they came here on the 5th of December and descended on Salisbury, and we all know, we have all heard the stories of what transpired then. And since then, that has left a distasteful position with Dominicans. So once they hear RSS, they're not happy, they are not pleased. And so it is felt that the political directorate, the governing political directorate, is misusing the services of the RSS.
Yeah. Mr. Judge, talking about the misuse of the RSS as a unit, can you speak to the process by which these members from that unit can enter a member country? The process, can you lay that out for us, please?
First, the treaty, and in 2006, I believe it was, we have the regional security assistance mechanism. So it is a mechanism that has been established, again by treaty, to assist member states for a number of reasons, and security-related reasons. Now, that mechanism includes the Bahamas, Barbados, Jamaica, Guyana, and Trinidad. But when to trigger a request for assistance in any contracting member state within the RSS, that request is made to the coordinating secretariat, which is housed within the centralized office of the regional security system, based at Paragon, Christchurch in Barbados. And so the coordinator, the chief executive officer of the regional security system, would receive that and furnish that request, which was written in writing, to all the heads of the government. And they, on their concurrence, would authorize the dispatch, the assembling of troops and resources, and their dispatch to the requesting contracting state. This is also within the treaty itself, the 1996 treaty that was signed in Grenada. That provision is also there, but it has been expanded. There was an intention to have a regional military force, but that the larger countries, or the countries with larger armies, had the difficulties as to who would command their troops. So you have different commanders, they hold different ranks in the different larger countries. So you may have a 2-star general in Grenada, in Jamaica, a 3-star general in Guyana, a 4-star general in Trinidad, and a colonel in Antigua, and would the generals in Barbados and Trinidad and so on, they probably wouldn't feel comfortable that they were coming under the command of a colonel. So to avoid that, they decided they would be part of the regional assistance mechanism, and that would be coordinated by the regional security system. Now, the request, what the contracting states have agreed to do and assist is on matters of security.
Mm-hmm.
So if there are threats to the security of any contracting member state, and that is threats to overthrow the government, threats arising out of criminal activity, and threats arising from weather systems. Mm-hmm. So you have the situation where the contracting state may make the request, as was done recently by Dominica to the RSS, mm-hmm. and where the contracting states themselves now, perceiving that a member state is under threat, the security is under threat, but the member state is unable to make the request, they can meet and decide that the situation in any contracting member state is grievous, is serious, and could dispatch troops to restore order in the island. So let us take, for instance, in 1979, after Hurricane David, the communication system for Dominica had been decimated. And I think many would remember Mr. I think it was Philip the gentleman from Kings Hill. He was a ham operator, and he was the only person who had credible communication.
Philip White,
outside to get in touch with outside forces. And I think one of his calls was answered by a patrolling British vessel, I think HMS 5. And they responded and came to Dominica. And Philip was taken from Kings Hill to police headquarters control room with his equipment. And that was Dominica's communication system with the wider world. Mm-hmm. So in a situation like that, if I5 came in and helped with the communication system as well. And so had Maria done that, then we were in a bad way. So the other contracting states could have decided that Dominica deserves or requires assistance, and they would dispatch forces.
All right, Mr. George, thanks so far. I just need to butt in there one little while to ask you, just to walk it back just a bit. Let us take it from the request, that request letter from any member state requesting that sort of assistance from the RSS. When that letter is received by the chief or the director, whoever it is in charge of the unit, is there any vetting, cross-checking, confirmation of that request by the other member states as to its necessity, if it is necessary or not, or how is that? How does that unfold in terms of just the request, just that?
Yeah, and earlier you would have heard me speak about the intelligence. It has to be intelligence-based. It's not a whim of the requester. Mm-hmm. All right? I'm not a political wish of the requester. So in other words, our Prime Minister should not be determining tonight that he requires RSS because he hears of a protest action tomorrow, and he doesn't like the organizers of the protest. So let me call the RSS to crush them. That's not what the RSS is established for. That is internal politicking that the governing system within Dominica should be addressing their minds to. So if there's disagreement between the governing party and those in opposition, there are mechanisms for both parties to come across a table and discuss what is happening and seek to find a resolution to whatever is impasse that there is. But that is not what is happening. That's not fashionable in Dominica at the moment. So the population is believing that any semblance of protest in Dominica, the government will call on the RSS. The request to the coordinating secretariat, and as the chief executive officer of the RSS will receive that, has to be made on, hopefully, on sound intelligence fed to the political directorate in Dominica, which means that Dominica should have a credible intelligence unit or system that gives to the Prime Minister and the Minister of National Security credible intelligence that suggests that a threat exists to the security of Dominica. And having been satisfied with that analysis from the intelligence community of Dominica, security intelligence community of Dominica, the minister or the prime minister may now make the request to the RSS chief executive officer for assistance. And that is to say, the situation is grave enough and serious enough that it will overwhelm the resources of Dominica, and we need additional manpower to quell it or to push it back and to restore order, peace, and tranquility in Dominica. So that's where it starts. Again, so the chief of police must depend on credible intelligence. That is to say, he must have within his establishment an intelligence unit that is constantly gathering intelligence, gathering information, and making critical analysis of the situation in Dominica and providing him with that product. When he receives that product, he and his command will determine whether this is a situation that is overwhelming or likely to overwhelm them. And they inform the minister, who would inform the prime minister. And a determination is made to make a request for intelligence. Now, what I spoke about earlier is that within the RSS itself, it is required, and there is established within the RSS an intelligence unit that is expansive enough and should be, I'm not there now, but should be receiving almost daily intelligence estimates from each contracting member state, where a regional analysis and a national analysis of the intelligence products sent to them as to what is existing in any member state at any one time. So the RSS had been here. I think they left last week. The intelligence gathering protocol should continue and should not have stopped. I don't think it is stopped, but I'm hoping that it is not stopped and that we are continually feeding the RSS with information. It would be wrong for the chief executive officer to advise the prime ministers of the contracting states that we need to send troops to Dominica or to any other contracting state merely on a political whim. That would be detrimental to the security health of the member state and of the region itself. So I am making a point. I know that within the RSS, there exists an intelligence unit. I know that I assisted in setting it up, and I know that it has arms that requests and requires each member state to feed into the RSS intelligence unit. The protocols have been established.
Yeah, Mr. George, again, let me just stretch you in terms of a scenario that unfolded in Dominica as we're in this intelligence unit part of the RSS.
Yeah.
We all know in these CARICOM, Caribbean countries where election is concerned, the political temperature normally goes a bit higher. And so around election time, you will get that heightened form of political talk or whatever it is that may go on that in a law enforcement mind may deem that to be contrary law or is bordering on going against the law. So we have to sort of contextualize that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Based on what you said, I am very wary now that the leaders, the crop that we have in the region these days, they may use the RSS as a unit and, quote unquote, for want of a better term, hijack the electoral process in the different member states, because precedent, I believe, that is my word, precedent was set in Dominica in 2019, where I don't know what kind of intelligence that the unit had at their disposal to have made that decision to come into Dominica. But me being on the ground in Dominica, it was the usual rhetoric I was hearing. Obviously, an election was in the air, and there was this, back and forth in terms of talk and gestures and whatever it was. I, as a Dominican, did not see at the time, and I'm still at bay, did not see the need for RSS to come to Dominica and to do what they did, especially to the Salisbury people, and left, and we're not hearing nothing in terms of accountability of these members. In terms of accountability, is that force immune? Are these members of the RSS immune to prosecution?
No, the RSS members are not immune. Within the treaty, they're not immune to prosecution. And within the law, the actual statutory legislation passed in the parliaments of each member state, there are provisions for prosecution of members, the officers who have
individual officers.
If they, in other words, if they violate the criminal code of Dominica, they can be held responsible under the Dominican jurisdiction in the first instance. So if the officer visiting or responding is from Grenada, Dominica has the first chance to try that person within the judicial system in Dominica. Dominica can also forfeit that and defer to Grenada and allow Grenada to deal with the matter in Grenada's jurisdiction. So no, you don't escape prosecution if you have violated the laws of any contracting member state. That is in law. Now, as to the question that you raised, it's a very big question that has been there, and the political abuse in Dominica of the RSS is existent. Okay? I, for one, I believe that, for instance, the political system that we have is flawed, is faulty, and ought to be changed to one that more represents political representation for the purposes that it's established. What we have breeds too much division and hatred from the top. So it is that division and hatred that prevents us to come across the table. So let us get the genesis of the Salisbury situation. 2013, the farmers of Salisbury protested in Roseau. They had their vans and their pickups, and on that they had banana plants. And they were saying to the Dominican public, the roads to their holdings were in deplorable conditions. That's what they were saying. And merely because they are a community that has voted the opposition party consistently, the governing political directorate paid no attention. Up to now, they have not paid attention to the deplorable condition of the roads in Salisbury. So that's the genesis. That's where it starts. Then in 2015, they protested, May 2015, to draw attention to what it was they were suffering, their plight, the poor roads. Dominica knows that Salisbury and St. Joseph were very productive communities in Dominica. They rival Marigot, Wesley, Calibishi, Cassie Bruce, La Plaine. On the West Coast, they were the kings. And that they earn their living from farming. And therefore, if you don't fix the roads, you are now making them economically dependent. But they didn't want that. They wanted to be independent. They didn't want to be dependent. And then they were asking, fix the roads for us. 2015 May, they protested. They blocked a main road. It's to draw attention to their plight. And there was a response to that. And then out of that, the law enforcement officers decided that a number of people, probably to the number of 50 or 70, were to be arrested. So the police returned in June to arrest, and they arrested 6 persons. And the people were upset about that action because our road is not getting fixed, it's not getting attention, yet our residents are being, our citizens are being arrested. And they blocked the road again. Created another impasse. I played a role in seeing how best we could deal with that impasse. And I think at the time, about 140 warrants may have been issued for the arrest of people who the law enforcement community felt had violated the law. One of the main recommendations was to vacate all the charges against the people. The government did not agree, or to proceed by summons. Do not execute the warrants, because if you execute the warrants, you're likely to have resistance that might end up in death of a law enforcement officer or death of civilians from the community of Salisbury. That meeting was held in Bishop Miles's office, and in attendance was the Prime Minister and the, Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt, the leader of the opposition, then Honorable Lennox Linton. The meeting was chaired by the superintendent of the Methodist Church, who was the chairman of the Christian Council. Now, out of that meeting, the law enforcement officers went through the route of summons. So here comes 2019 election, and we all know that people have been agitating for electoral reform. The list is bloated. The government knows that the list is bloated, that the Electoral Commission was not ready for the election. Yet, because I am governing, because we are governing, and we have the sword, we have the shift, we have the scabbard, we have the handle, we have the blade, we have everything, we're going to do what we want and nobody can stop us. That's not what governing is about. You're not governing for yourself.
Yeah, but Mr. George, you not tripping you there. You spoke about the intelligence of the RSS unit as a unit.
Yes.
Didn't all what you are speaking of now sort of was documented or went through the eyes and ears of that unit before they came to Dominica? The 15 incident, the roads incident.
Your question is pertinent. I've said tried to lay the framework, for me, what I consider to be the best framework for the request of assistance. Now, as to whether that is corrupted, that framework was corrupted in the case of Dominica, and it's very likely it was corrupted, and that the request was made on a political whim, and which may have been unfortunate if that is what happened. Merely by the actions of the RSS coming in onto a sleeping community at 3 o'clock in the morning and tear gassing a sleeping community suggests that the intelligence, if anything, or the request for assistance was faulty. On the face of it, I'm not privileged to the intelligence that may have been support that have been provided, but on the face of what unfolded, that is what it happens. To me, it was faulty. The actions.
And so is on that premise, Mr. George, I'm saying that
yes,
it may just be that the RSS unit in the future, because we saw it played out in Dominica, can be hijacked by a member country, basically to do whatever they have to do under the protection of the RSS unit. And I'm very fearful about that.
Yes.
To
But
your
let me go back to
your memory.
We spoke about 2019 a while ago, and making the request for the contracting states to send troops here, and they did. The pressure on RSS never stopped, really. And on the 16th, let's say the 14th of December 2024, a request may have been made for troops to come here. And the ERC and the political leader of the United Workers' Party, Dr. Thompson Fountain, wrote the then chairman of CARICOM, Honorable Mia Motley, suggesting to them that there was no reason for any RSS troops in Dominica. Absolutely none. And on the 25th of December, I think it was, or January, somewhere along the line, a letter was received from the desk of Honorable Mia Motley saying that the request, they had received the request, but the mechanism had not been activated. So there's one instance in the history of the RSS where the intelligence may have been faulty, that the request may have been politically motivated.
And what date was that you said? What date was that again?
We were going to have the first reading of the 3 bills, the Electoral Commissions Act.
Yes, I remember. Yes. Okay.
In 2024, 16th of December 2024. And the Prime Minister informed the nation that he's going to make a request for the RSS troops. And the Electoral Reform Coalition and Dr. Thompson Fountain, political leader of the United Workers' Party, wrote to Honorable Mia Motley, who was then chairman of the CARICOM, outlining to her that it was not necessary to send RSS troops. For that matter, it would be inappropriate to send it. It would be unwise politically, even on a security standpoint, to send them, because there was nothing there that necessitated additional troops from the RSS being on Dominica. People had expressed that they were going to express their constitutional right to protest, and that was not sufficient grounds for sending the RSS. And in her response, her written response to Mr. Johnson Boston and Dr. Thompson Fountain, whatever else she wrote, she did say in that written response signed by her that the mechanism, the request mechanism was not activated.
So that request mechanism, based on the tone of that letter, do you think that it was after you guys' letter from the ERC and the political leaders in opposition, or it was as a result of their own intelligentsia?
I think it may have been a combination of both, but I think it was influenced by the letters from Dominica, from the ERC and the Honorable Dr. Thompson Fountain.
Okay.
Because the request had already gone from the Prime Minister's office. And if you had to go by precedent, then the RSS should have been here. Remember that the Barbadian Coast Guard boat, the Trident, was here and docked at Woodbridge Bay on the evening of Sunday, 15th of December.
Mm-hmm.
Now, up to now, we don't know how many troops were on board. But the following day, when we get to know that this boat was there, a flyer was sent out, and then the boat slid off the dock. Nobody knew how many troops, if any, were on the boat, on the vessel, and whether they were preparing to come ashore.
So George, I'm listening to you there, Mr. George, and to tell you the plain truth, that is some of what you're saying, in terms of these leaders and the doings of the RSS, some of it is quite laughable.
Well, I am not sure that I would characterize it as being laughable, but I would probably add another thing and say irresponsible, and people who...
Well, yeah, irresponsible.
All right,
and
because,
some people will laugh
because these are serious undertakings. When you dispatch troops They have under the treaty, they have the authority to take action as in Dominica. So they have the right to self-defense and the defense of people who they think is in danger. So they can discharge their firearms and they can take a life. That is that's the most serious undertaking. When you're dispatching them in the full knowledge that they are armed with the legal authority to use force where necessary. So therefore, the decision to dispatch them cannot be a willy-nilly decision. It has to be based on sound intelligence and analysis of that intelligence. It has to be.
All right, Mr. Judge, let's get home now to the most recent invitation or requests in terms of getting rid of some of the illegal guns on the street, as it was said. Was the RSS needed there? What is your take?
Again, I am dealing with this thing in hindsight. I am not within the police service and I am not within the RSS, and therefore I don't know. This is why I spent a lot of time talking about the credibility of intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
I am saying that no prime minister should call the coordinating authority and say, send troops to Dominica. And no prime minister in the region should do that. None should do that. Merely because you are the sitting prime minister. Okay? Now, as to how the RSS came here, I'm surmising that the RSS was furnished with credible intelligence that Dominica was swamped, or the shooting incidents prior gave the law enforcement community the impression that there were more firearms illegally held by citizens or visitors in Dominica than makes for comfort in Dominica. Even one does not give you any level of comfort. But the frequency with which our young people were shooting each other suggests that the firearms were freely available. Again, there are indicators. You see, this is where I'm going here. And this is why I do not I don't give a pass to the political directorate. Because there can be indicators that would indicate to the political directorate that something is wrong. Let us take the firearms. There's a perception that there are more illegally held firearms in Dominica, in the Dominican community, than that are legally held. We do not import, we do not manufacture it, and therefore we import it, and ostensibly illegally. Those holders of licenses for firearms, these licenses are issued by the chief of police. You have not in the past 10 years heard a holder of a licensed firearm charged for illegal use of the firearm. But what are these holders issued the firearms for? It's to protect themselves and their property, and it's in the main to protect their businesses. So you have not heard these holders defending. The holders of the illegal firearm, what are they defending? And the political directorate, through the intelligence units of the police force, can know that. What are they defending? They're probably defending illegally imported drugs, cocaine and marijuana. In what quantities? And how much money accrues to them? And that money, is it circling in the economy? The Ministry of Finance knows how much money should really be in the economy because they manage that. And you have the formal economy, it is manifested itself through the budget and the work done in the private sector. All those people are government related institutions. That is to say, the private sector reports to the Inland Revenue Department. They have accounts with the Customs Department. The government knows how much money comes in and goes out of Dominica through that system. But there is the informal. There are two sides. There's the informal and the shadow. The informal, where somebody may be doing something, but they're not paying Social Security, they're not paying income tax, but they're providing a service. That too will be seen by the Ministry of Finance. And there is the shadow, where drugs are sold or transshipped through Dominica, sold in Dominica, for which you now have the firearm for protection. How much of that money in the informal shadow economy has the Ministry of Finance seen? Or is seeing? Or are they paying attention to that?
Yeah, Mr. George, you're on a very, very good point there. We have to take a break in just a while. But the final question before that break, based on the amount of illegal firearms that I saw that the RSS in conjunction or collaboration with a local police got off the streets, you being a former police officer, what about our local men here, or local law enforcement here? What about them? They could not, do that kind of search and come home with the goods?
I believe they could have.
Because at the end of the day, when the RSS comes here, the RSS doesn't just come here and just go in a home. That intelligence should be or have to be provided by a local police here. I'm suggesting. So the question to you is, what about our local law enforcement here? Why they cannot, for example, go to Joe Blue's home and retrieve a firearm or firearms or drugs or whatever it is? They need the backup of the RSS unit.
How many times have you heard of political favoritism being practiced in Dominica? Okay. I've had that experience since I joined the United Workers' Party as a candidate of the United Workers' Party. I've experienced what I call discriminative policing. Okay. So once you're not supporting the government, the police force seem to be coming at you discriminatively. So that happened to me personally.
Are you suggesting that all the guns that I saw and the drugs that I saw on display, when the police at the press conference, that some of these drugs and guns and illegalities were basically gotten from people who don't support the government?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I am saying that you can give the appearance that whom you don't like, you go after. And then whom you like, you close your eye.
Oh, okay. All right.
You can have a Nelsonic eye, but that doesn't mean you are blind in that eye. All you have is a patch. So you have a Nelsonic eye. And I prefer to call it a blind eye. They say the blind eye, you close a blind eye. No. I call it a Nelsonic eye. By putting a patch over the eye, it only obscures sight. But the eye is functional. When you remove the patch, you can see well. Okay? So if you give comfort to those who are committing crime, then you be responsible. You have to be prepared for the actions when they take advantage of the comfort that you give them. You remember very clearly that some arms came into Dominica in a blue barrel. Nobody's been prosecuted for it. But the political directorate here said that was imported by the United Workers' Party. And I believe extensive investigation may have been entered into to find who in the United Workers' Party or as a party brought the guns in. Now, that was irresponsible messaging from the political directorate here and their supporters. Very irresponsible.
Yeah. So Mr. George, are you saying or suggesting here that our local law enforcement here does not have the capacity and capability to go on the streets and do whatever has to be done to get rid of some of the illegalities on the street? Are you suggesting that?
No, I'm not suggesting that at all. I feel that the police force in Dominica has the capabilities and the capacity to have recovered a number of firearms. That's the question you're asking me?
Yeah.
The number of firearms that were recovered by the jointly with the RSS. That the current officers serving in Dominica have the capabilities and the capacity to do that recovery with the help of the community.
Some persons are suggesting, I heard that on the streets, that bringing the RSS unit here and conducting the searches and displaying some of these guns on display, it's sort of like a smoke screen, a sham. That is the real deal, as you sort of alluded to earlier with that blind eye scenario. The real deal is still out there in terms of the protection of some persons who are known criminals and get shelter from some of these same law enforcement officers in Dominica.
The thing is, I try to say that, and I want to stay with the.
Mr. George, I know you're a former police officer, sir, so there are certain areas that you will not want to go, and I understand that.
Yeah.
But I'm a very straight shooter, and I'm telling you, based on what some police officers have told yours truly,
yes.
Lofty, when these meetings or discussions or deliberations are being had into we go in, let's say, to Mr. John Brown's home tonight, there are 1-2 elements in that discussion among that in that room that will give John Brown prior notice to do the goods, to dock it wherever, that we are coming tonight. And so if that is the situation that is I'm reliably informed of, I am saying our local law enforcement here, there's much room for improvement. Some head should roll.
Okay, fine.
And the RSS unit should not be used as a tool now to try to come and, sort of pull wool over the Dominican people's eyes.
Right. So, but you note my insistence on the quality of intelligence, and that the RSS itself should be conducting its own intelligence and analysis of the security situation in every member state. Okay? So if you rely solely on what Dominica provides you, the intelligence product from Antigua or St. Kitts, then there's a vacuum. All right? So one, the police force in Dominica, I read the report. It said 73 warrants were executed for firearms. So let's ask the chief of police. In any given year, how many warrants have been executed by the policemen under his command? Any given year. In other words, you executed, you called the RSS because you had a problem.
Yeah.
And the intelligence I'm talking about is that it appears 73, at least 73 people are possessed of illegal firearms in Dominica. That is what caused the alarm. Okay, that's what caused the alarm. That's what crossed the threshold to call the RSS. That is what that is before us, so that is where we must speak.
Yes.
The question is, what is the threshold for the police force? When it sees that it has 20 warrants in a year, or 50 warrants in a year, and the 51st warrant suggests,
something is wrong.
We are overwhelmed and something is wrong, then we need help.
We need backup.
So these are the questions, critical questions that we must ask of the political directorate and the police organization. Why did you call the RSS? Well, our young people were shooting each other and the guns seemed to be prevalent. That is not enough. That is not enough. That's not enough.
But would you agree that in and out of itself is a problem in Dominica, where young people just have guns killing each other willy-nilly?
Yes, and then have we now analyzed the lives of the young people? You see, when we deal strictly with removing the guns from the street, fine, that answer has credibility. That question has credibility. But I'm deliberately, because you have an audience that is wider than the two of us. So it's not two of us having a conversation. For instance, we have a situation where politically our prime minister says he is pushing for, as a policy, a graduate in every household in Dominica. That should have been achieved by now. But then you have the same prime minister gleefully telling the state, the region, and the world how happy he is that Honorable Dr. Thompson Fontaine is unemployed, a world-renowned economist in Dominica, a Dominican, whose services have been sought after in the world, not just the region, not just Dominica, in the world, wider world. And the Prime Minister is happy that this gentleman is unemployed, whilst we have a medical doctor running and governing our Ministry of Finance. What if we had Dr. Thompson Fontaine running the Ministry of Finance? Would he have looked at the shadow economy that is there, that the illegal guns, the users, holders of the illegal guns are protecting? It is not just holding the guns. They're not holding the guns, and because you spoke ill about my girlfriend, or you went and made a break at my girlfriend, I'm shooting you. Is that what the use of the guns are? So when the investigation is done, criminal investigation is done, there has to be a side investigation, intelligence, that says, but why? Why the firearm?
The why is critical.
Why?
Mr. George, as we wind up on that point, because we have to move on to the next segment here in terms of the confirmation process. I heard one of the past prime ministers in the region, namely Mr. Alan Chasney, basically went on the record and said words to the effect, I'm not quoting him now, that the RSS, when they came to Dominica in 2019, he basically regretted having, well, not approved, but having gave consent to sending some of his forces, or having some of his forces join that grouping to come to Dominica. So having Mr. Alan Chasney on the record saying that, it is proof that some of the intelligence that you spoke of before, some of these are not factual, and some of these leaders are not fully informed of the real deal, the raw situation on the ground before they make these decisions. Would you agree?
I agree. It's unfortunate, which is what I was going to at all the while. Mm-hmm. You have the ministers of the council for the RSS. The governing council is the ministers of national security of the sub-region. They meet annually or whenever they want to meet. Once they meet, they should be getting an intelligence brief on the situation in the region. That intelligence brief can only be given to them by the sharing of intelligence by each contracting state and its analysis at the coordinating secretariat. So the prime ministers of the region should be getting intelligence products on the state of security within the region and within each member state. The question that has to be asked is whether that is happening. So we can ask a prime minister, when last, he doesn't have to tell us what the intelligence was, but when last did you get an intelligence product or intelligence estimate on Dominica from the regional security and on the region? When last did you get one? And were there recommendations for you to take remedial action in Dominica? The remedial action cannot always be bringing in the RSS. The remedial action may be economic, ensuring that you have policies in place that engages the youth in a manner different from what they are engaged in. If you are selling cocaine and cocaine brings in millions of dollars within a year, you're going to have to find, so are you comfortable with the $1 million in the economic system from the shadow economy? Are you comfortable with it? And if you are comfortable with it, then you are almost supporting the use of the firearms. Mm-hmm. So have we heard from the Ministry of Finance that there is excess money in the economy that they cannot account for? That can be done. Dr. Thompson Fontaine can do that.
All right, Mr. Dr. Thompson Fontaine, we'll have the opportunity to do that. But finally, so the force that you served with in terms of the members then and the force today, What is your take? What is your take then and now in terms of the police force of Dominica?
When I served in the police force, I know that the majority of us serve with distinction, with honor, with responsibility and accountability. I know that, and I hold that to be true.
And now?
I am not there.
All right, Mr. George. Thank you very much. Very, very good answer. Folks, we got to take that all-important break at this time. Mr. Nicholas George said he's not there, so he can't or choose not to answer.
Lord, yeah.
Under attack.
Mrs. Brown, Mrs. Oh, Lord. Mrs. Brown, wanna hold.
Yes, sometimes it feels like we are under attack in Dominica from a number of fronts.
Brown, you too wicked. Hey, hey, hey.
From the political front, the religious front, and other fronts.
Lord, under attack from friend and foe, from Mrs. Brown and Co.
Those of you who are there with us still, thank you very much. Based on the trend of questions or comments that I see on the live feed, I think Mr. George has answered them, either in whole or in part, somewhat. But thank you very much for your comments, questions therein.
I wanna make two. I don't want to make four. I couldn't take the deal that they were giving, so I walked right up.
Just in case you want to contribute to the program based on what you're hearing, the numbers on your screen, you can make good use of them. Huh?
She planned a secret war. Said she wanna even the score.
Mr. Angelo Allen, good evening to you.
Lord, yeah. I miss it.
Arundel T, good evening to you, my bro.
Oh, Lord.
You guys and your families, huh?
All
of you tuned in at this time.
Mrs. Brown, you too wicked.
Just getting the news that Mr. Darren Sameh has resigned as head coach of Cricket West Indies team.
Sergeant and Corporal.
That's for another conversation some other time.
Lord, firing from her roadside track. Mama, under attack from friend and foe.
So yes, folks, we're going to turn our attention to the confirmation process that started this week in Dominica, Wednesday to be precise.
Lord. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I tell you, them too wicked. So, yeah. Look, Mrs. Brown, them are blood. They blood the liquor, some are short. How them are forced because of them are lost. How them are furious now. Let them are threaten my life. Rumor just a fly well high. She make up a crowd and applaud. Say they wanna cut I short. Under attack from friend and foe. From Mrs. Brown and Co. Under attack.
So yes, if you're tuning in at this time, you have missed out a lot, I can tell you that. But guess what? It's rather late than never. Our guest here this evening is none other than Mr. Nicholas George, former senior police officer in the Commonwealth of Dominica.
Oh, yeah.
Talking some business, really RSS. He served with that unit.
You know,
and so there's much he knows.
Offense, that my self-defense.
But I'm very, very afraid, based on the trend in Dominica, that the objective, the role, the mission of that unit to serve the Caribbean will be or has been hijacked by some of the political directorates in our region.
Them have a bigger time plot under attack. Lord, I'm firing from a both side track. Lord.
I can say that with a level of confidence based on what I saw unfolded in Dominica.
I don't want to make fun.
So you guys at that unit, that is the RSS.
Right over there, though. Now Mrs. Brown, them a frown. A golden goose is gone.
A word from the wise.
To walk. Say she wanna even.
You need to go back to the basics, huh? As to your vision, your mission, what you guys were truly intended to accomplish.
Lord, Lord, yeah. Mrs. Brown, Mrs. Brown, Mrs. Brown, Mrs.
And just like some of our courts in the region,
Mrs. Brown,
please, I beseech you, please, don't be hijacked by some of the political directorates. Be true to your mission, and the people will regain the confidence. So yes, folks, it is just 7:30 there, about 2 minutes to that time, which means we have like what, 25, 30 minutes with Mr. George to talk confirmation. That conversation will not finish tonight, but we'll start it nonetheless.
Lord, 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 yeah. Oh yeah, I tell you them too wicked.
Mr. George, thank you very much for staying the course. Thank you very much. Are you still there?
I am still there, yeah.
All right, thank you. Mr. George, let's move gear a bit to the confirmation process that started the 15th, Wednesday of this week in Dominica. What is your overall take on from where we were to where we are now in terms of this whole political process?
I'm going to be not mischievous, nor malicious, but I'm going to do something. I'm going to comment on that question going back to what we just discussed. Because what we're going to discuss now is what sets the stage for good governance, accountable governance, responsible governance in Dominica. And if that process is flawed, then what we discussed a while ago about the RSS coming here will be a product of that flawed process. Okay? What is my take on the thing? We agitated in Dominica for free and fair elections. We know what Mr. Tony Astafan wrote in 2008, and since that time, Dominica has been struggling to get free and fair elections. We moved quickly to 2022 when the Caribbean Court of Justice hearing a request as to whether it had jurisdiction to hear an appeal from the OECS appeals court. They decided that they hadn't got jurisdiction, but in their obiter dictum, in their comments on that, they said that Dominica should not enter into another election with this tainted system or similar tints in the electoral process. That's 9 jurists of the Caribbean, a court that is our final court, appellate court in Dominica. 9 jurists looking at all the evidence that had been provided to the presiding judge and the OECS appeal court. They concluded, and there were many other conclusions that they made. We in Dominica did not take heed. We ignored what the justices said. And we proceeded to call a sham election in 2022 on the very day, the 6th of November, 2022, when the Prime Minister, I think around 8 o'clock, advised the president to prorogue parliament. That day, the 6th, was the date that the prime minister should have received a letter from Sir Dennis Byron advising him that the first phase of his consultancy, his report, first phase, was available and he would be getting it shortly. Honorable Lennox Linton, leader of the opposition then, received that letter as well. And on that very day, the prime minister called the election on the 6th of December. A consultant appointed by the government, led by Honorable Roosevelt Scarrett, the prime minister. The consultant had been working for at least 2 years up to the 6th of November and working with Dominica's Electoral Commission. So the prime minister would have known that the consultancy is not complete. There was no emergency in Dominica. There was no need for the election, and that the commission would not have been ready for managing, administering the election. But merely because he has the constitutional power to call election anytime, that is a legal constitutional power. But the exercise of that power, in my view, was immoral and unethical. It was immoral at best and unethical. It should not have been exercised. Because you know everything was not in order. And then we come to the passages of the laws. There are recommendations made by Sir Dennis Byron. One of them is campaign finance reform. That was removed. The government did not add that in the acts of 19th of March 2025. They did not put that there. Sir Dennis Byron realized that the Constitution says the commission would be composed of 5 people. So he recommended, yes, you can keep the 5, but just change the type of people that you put there, because the Constitution doesn't say who should be there. All it says is the chairman appointed by the president, 2 members by the prime minister, nominated by the prime minister, 2 members by the opposition. Sir Dennis Byron, driving towards the independence of the commission, suggested at least 1 woman should be appointed in the law that is being passed, and that people from different organizations, the Bar Association and so on, should be appointed so as to enhance the independence of the commission. That was not agreed to, set aside. Then we come to the issue of confirmation versus registration. We are a 72 person or people population, 72,000. Our voters list, electors list is 74 and growing. It's bloated. Everybody agrees it's bloated, save the government. It's bloated. Let's cleanse the list through a registration, a re-registration process. No. The government opted for a confirmation process of the 74,000 electors list. Confirmation process.
74,000.
I attended.
74 to be precise.
I am confirmed because the law requires that I be confirmed, so I am confirmed. I went to the confirmation center in Colliho on Friday. That is the 17th of this month, October 2025, and I got confirmed. I went so that I would get a sense as to what the process entailed.
Okay.
And the process is very simple, actually. I found the officers who attended to me were very affable, and they were pleasant, respectful, and responsible. That's what I found in them. At Station 1, I had to fill in Form 31. First, I had to declare my name, and they checked on the electors list that they had. I didn't check to see whether it was one that had been published in September of this year or May of this year. I went with what they had, so my name was there, and I provided my identification card, a valid driver's license, And she proceeded to fill the form with my name and all the information that the form required. Then I signed it. I had to get somebody to witness the filling of that form. And that person must be on the electors list that I am on. In that polling district, that person, that witness must be there, be on that list. And that person must also provide an identification card. That was provided and the witness signed. I went to station 2. The information that was on form 31 was uploaded on the computer, and I could see what was uploaded. The identification card that I provided was scanned and uploaded, and that of my witness was also uploaded. And then I signed electronically, and I saw my signature on the computer. It's uploaded. I was photographed, and that was in preparation to issue me with a voter identification card. The process was not long. It was not difficult. And it was all right for me. I asked a question about the provision of a birth certificate, a photograph validated by a justice of the peace, and a letter from the justice of the peace declaring that that person is who they claim to be, and that the person, and one witness will attend to the person. I was told, no, that is not the process of confirmation. You have to provide a valid identification card, either a passport, a Dominica social security card, or a driver's license. That's what will help get you through the process of confirmation. However, I was told that it would be advisable to walk with a birth certificate or marriage certificate because even though they're still finding that people who provide the birth certificate, when they check, there's a discrepancy with the name or the surname. And somebody may have registered 5 years ago within that time frame to now gotten married and carrying the surname of their husband. So when they registered, they probably would have been Jacqueline Smith. Now they come in with ID cards, a passport or driver's license, and it has Jacqueline Smith Lawrence. It is not compatible with the name that is on the electors list, and therefore they must make the necessary correction. Okay, so that is the reason why you bring the birth certificate, the marriage certificate, that so as to help and correct the records going forward. Here's my observation. That this could have been done, a re-registration process could have been entered into, could have been done. Nobody's explained how much more time does it take to register as opposed to confirmation. And so therefore, it is tied. You see, because Mr. Jura, the management of the country issues from free and fair elections, the election of a government. That's where it starts. So if that process is flawed, everything down the road is fraud and corrupted. So we must get that right. Registration. I'm going to make an appeal for registration to be done because there are two things. You can register and you can confirm. At the moment, there's a confirmation center, but I don't think the electoral office has told citizens about registration, not re-registration, registration, because confirmation is enhancing the registration process, re-registration process. Let us take registration. At that same center, if somebody is turned 18 in September, then at that center, that person should have been able to be registered. Why has the commission not explained that to us? I don't know. Now, the other thing is the electoral process.
George, just before you move to the electoral process, just walk back that that point, very valid point that you made a while ago, read the registration of an elector at the confirmation center?
The perception is that registration is continuous. My friend, there is a new registration act. That registration act recognizes the last electors list until everyone is confirmed and a new list is issued. Then that old list will be set aside. So again, on moral grounds, as it stands now, if the Prime Minister wishes to exercise his authority under the Constitution, he thinks he has power there, to advise the President to prorogue Parliament and call election, he can exercise that. And it leaves now the Election Commission in limbo as to how to prepare which list to go to the election. It has to be the old list plus those who are confirmed. That hasn't been explained. So there's confusion still that needs to be explained. And I want to make a point here, that it appears that the government is an entity unto itself, that the Election Commission is an entity unto itself, and that they can do whatever they like. But that is not so. There is a document called the Constitution of Dominica, and there is a part of the Constitution that I have not gone far from, and it's called the preamble. It is in that preamble we get the intention of the Dominican population. It's in that preamble. We learn that the people are saying, we the people, acknowledging the supremacy of God, hereby establish the Commonwealth of Dominica and all the articles that are in the Constitution. So before the Prime Minister, someone can become Prime Minister, they have to have the consent of the people. So at all times, you are functioning for the people, and your actions must always be godly. Always. Because right there at the top, the Constitution, in the preamble, it says, we acknowledge the supremacy of God. And every elected official takes an oath, and at the end of the oath, they say, so help me God. These two elements and these two references are very serious. We don't want theocracy in Dominica necessarily. That's not what we're asking for. But we're saying that we are God's children, we are God's land, and we should do godly things. So it is not for the Electoral Commission to dictate what is right and what is wrong for us. They must always do what is godly for us in our name, because we are paying. The Prime Minister's salary is paid from the Treasury, and it's an accumulation of taxes collected from the citizens of Dominica that pays him, and therefore he's obligated to work in the interest of all the people of Dominica. Similarly, any stipend, allowance, or salary that anybody in the Electoral Commission receives is coming from the Treasury, and therefore they are obligated to deliver according to that. And any power they think they have is power issued to them or given to them by God.
Mr. George, quick question as you on that godly point. Do you think the person who sits in that chair now as Prime Minister, is he a godly person, and is he an honorable person?
For this whole night, you've been putting me on the spot. And I think I'm the one who put myself, I started there by saying, I'm not a priest, I'm not a pastor, I'm not a deacon, I'm nothing like that. I'm just an ordinary person in Dominica. Mm-hmm. But we are taught at home, not in law yet, not in statutory law. Yeah. The first law is the law of the house. And we're taught to be godly in our actions. And as we follow our Christian faith, which is in our Constitution, it says to us, we must love our neighbor and as ourselves. So we must look out for everybody. And there is a scripture that says, I cannot quote it because I told you that I am not a bishop, I'm not a pope, I'm not a priest, nothing. But there's a part that says, judge not, lest ye be judged. So when you ask me if the prime minister is a godly person, you're asking me to judge him. The prime minister should know of himself whether he is acting in a godly fashion with all the decisions that he takes. You know why?
But Mr. George, the same book that you're quoting from, if you permit me, it says, by their fruits you shall know them. Huh?
But the same book also says, leave the judging for my Lord.
All right.
But let me say to you, the prime minister, you know, he has a nice phrase. But he doesn't repeat it recently. For the past years, he's not been repeating it. You know what it is?
You're asking me?
Yes.
What Lord is good and Lord is good and good all the time. Blah blah.
God is good and all right, all the time, and all the time God is good. That's a familiar phrase of the prime minister. Should I take that and say he's a godly person? It's left to him.
In your mind, Mr. George, is he an honorable man? Okay, you don't want to go down that road. Is he godly? You leave that judging for the big one. Is he an honorable man based on his practice in the office so far?
The title of honorable comes again from the Lord, you know. They are not divorced. If you are taking action that is godly, then it is also honorable. If you are not taking action that is godly in your leadership, then your action is dishonorable.
Okay. All right. Point taken, Mr. George.
Yeah.
Point taken.
Yeah, so I would say that I am saying that every one of us should go through the confirmation process because that's the law of the land at the moment. Let us get confirmed. Let us get ourselves on the new electors list. That when election is called, hopefully in the next 15 months, because the confirmation process ends on the 14th of October 2026 in the first instance, and it can be extended for another 3 months. So 15 months after that, give the election commission at least a couple of months to put everything in order. And so we can say in the next 2 years, there is very likely to be an election. And if your name is not confirmed on the electors list, then you do not have the authority to exercise your franchise to vote and to vote the government of your choice.
Mr. George,
process.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I'm being told by someone that they went through that process like you spelled out a while ago. And then they brought the ID. Their name was spelled a certain way on the ID, correctly that is.
Mm-hmm.
Their surname as well was spelled correctly on that ID. After giving the enrollment officer that ID, on that screen that you mentioned, the person saw their name showed up on that screen wrongly or spelled differently than what is or was on the ID. To stretch it a bit, the person trying to go through that process, at the time, that person was male.
Yeah.
On that screen, female showed up on that screen. You went through the process. Did you encounter such difficulty? Did you encounter such situation? And if that is true, based on what was reported to me by that individual, what would you suggest, or how would you advise those going through that process? What should they look out for? What needs to be done to verify and confirm everything?
The last part that you asked, the part that you asked me if it happened to me, it happened in one area. When they asked me my profession, I said retired police officer, I retired superintendent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was put on the 4. Mm-hmm. Now, when the registering officer, the assistant, was entering it on the computer, I saw retired police. So I said, put officer. Mm-hmm. and she told me that the space, the field, could not capture officer. I said, oh, that's okay. Now, as to the person's problem, that was all right, because I'm a retired police officer, and the form says that. That person would have mail on their application form, which is a record that has to be kept by the commission, and the ID card, the identification card, whether it's a driver's license or social security card that was presented, was scanned onto their record on the computer to scan, and their photograph taken. So those three things, your photograph, your scanned ID, and the information on the form should validate who you were and should cause the commission to get a technician, if this is a technical glitch that was on the computer, to correct the technical glitch and to ensure that the correct spelling as on the person's identification that they presented and the information they gave to the first officer at the first desk, to ensure that they get the card with the correct name as well. So it may be a technical glitch that should be reported to the commission that they should have rectified already. So tomorrow, that person should have been informed, because you take your phone number and inform that the name has been changed because the glitch has been corrected.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so far. Mr. George, I want to go to the feed here to get some questions or comments or scenarios there. But any other thing you want to chime in on here before we go to that before I go to that feed?
Yeah, here's the thing, huh? With all the clamor for a free and fair election, and now that we have the registration thing, there's still a feeling of mistrust. Okay, there's still a feeling of mistrust. There is still and there needs now to include or input into the system confidence building measures. Like, what do I mean by that? The Constitution authorizes the Commission to speak with the Prime Minister to impose duties upon public servants. That is to say, if you want a public servant to be a registering officer, and enrollment officer, and so on, the Commission couldn't just employ that person unless the person is retired. So to get that person, you must speak with the Prime Minister. It is our hope that only ethical people would be so recruited. And that has to be our hope at all times when people are recruited. The Commission now has the power to recruit people for different positions within the Commission, because now the Commission is a little more autonomous and independent than it had been last year. The budget, they now have an independent budget, and the Act allows for the employment and the payment of salary and enumerations and allowances done by the Commission. And they will report to Parliament as to their stewardship on that. That gives you a certain level of independence. Here's where I have a problem. It is incumbent on the Commission to be communicating with the public more frequently than they're doing at the moment. It is incumbent on the Commission to assure us that everybody employed in the confirmation centers are doing these bits of work ethically. And there should be some some measure there that an independent body that the Commission can appoint to check, an oversight body to check that the work coming from the confirmation center is ethical work and it's work in the interest of Dominica. You do not want further accusations that the confirmation center work is also corrupted. And if anybody attempts to corrupt it, there should be an oversight process that gives the confidence to the public that this work was done well and that the people entrusted with it can do it well. The same, because the members of the Commission are the same today as they were in 2022. And we didn't trust them. We didn't trust their judgment then. And then we are asked to trust their judgment now without a counterbalancing of an oversight body to ensure that what they're doing they're doing it at all times in the interest. So that is an element that has to be brought before the commission, the president and the prime minister. It is not just confirming and registering. It is confirming and registering in an incorruptible atmosphere.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. George. Let's go to the live feed now for some comments or questions therein. Marshall Lawrence writes, most struggling organizations, associations, they look back to former experience and successful members and or administrators who have served with distinction. The question is, why is there not such a call to individuals to assist? That is one question here. Mr. Ferdinand Lawrence writes, the commission is a joke and should be eliminated. John Doe says, sir, Dominica don't have 70,000. Since I was going to school, we're saying that. And in an record that is stuck. Let me see if I could get some more here, Mr. George, so you could just, respond to some of them here. John Blanchard writes, Mr. George, take a second look at the new electoral laws. To my understanding, subject to correction, if the prime minister decides to call an election before the confirmation is completed, the all electors list, the all electors register, yes, list will be used. And the last point I want to point out here, Mr. George, are you dreaming? The leader will do that. Keep on dreaming, sir. So lots of folks are chatting here, but let's go back to the point of Mr. Blanchard in terms of the list. If, just if, God forbid, that is the minister, the prime minister decides to call an election before the confirmation period is over. He's right.
He's right. I do not know the exact section, but that it is contained in the law that if the prime minister were to call an election, the confirmation process is not complete, then the list that would have been published before the confirmation process started, and I think in law it was supposed to have been done by September of this year. That list would be the list that would be used for the governing of the election. Yeah.
Those voting for the first time would have been registered and should be on the voters list for the first quarter. That is Mr. Blanchard coming back here. John, thank you very much, my brother, for your conversations here. Mr. George, we are on the money in terms of time. Any other point you just want to drive home before we ask you for your parting words, please?
As far as the election process and the commission is concerned, my concern is, one, the issue of power. One word. And the power that we believe that we are exercising is not given to us by man, it's given to us by God. And then there are things that go with it. That once it's given to you by God, God has his word, and he says that you must do things that are godly. So each one of us in this country, and the members of the commission and the political directorate must check themselves. Because when we were being raised at home, we were taught values. And if now the prime minister is going to engage somebody in the public service, employ somebody, or cause the employment of somebody in the public, he wants somebody who has morals, good morals and ethics. The Minister of National Security said that he's going to cause almost everybody to go through a lie detector test in the police force. And there is a reason for that. The reason is that you can trust the officer who you're giving instructions to. Similarly, we must be able to trust the minister and the ministers, the cabinet and the members of the commission, that every time they act, they're doing what is godly, they're doing what is right. They're always doing it for the people and not for an individual or a political party or themselves. Always it is the people, because they get their power from God through the provisions of the Constitution. That's where it's at. Simple. Okay.
Simple.
So that is how I want to characterize where we are at now. I am not pleased with where we are at. I am confirmed, and I wanted to go through the process so I could understand the process and that I can speak to others about what it is I went through. And I'm asking everybody to go ahead, get yourself confirmed and on the electors list. And somebody said that I am dreaming. I didn't know in what context that they say that I was dreaming, but many a good dream came to many a good person in this world, currently, and in the world of those who have gone and passed. Daniel is one of them. So it seems dreaming is a feature of the God as well, our God. So one must have hope. I think the person is probably characterizing as to whether I have hope and whether I have faith. Yes, I have hope that we will one day do right by ourselves. I have faith that that right will be done.
All right, Mr. Joe, thank you very much. Finally for you, do you think, again, it's your perspective, do you think that if the confirmation process is done correctly to the T, how it is spelled out in the law, do you think that that will improve our electoral system in Dominica?
That's a wide question. And I will narrow it, I will stick to one thing. If the confirmation process is complete, it would enhance the electors list, not necessarily the electoral process, because there are many other factors.
I understand that, yes.
That govern the process. So the electors list, yes, and I'll tell you one. No dead person can come to register at the confirmation center. None. That's one.
No dead people.
No, that's a statement that has to be made, carte blanche. Now, I am not saying that the name of any dead person should not be or will not be on the confirmation list. And that's not what I'm saying. I said no dead person would have the capacity to get to the confirmation center to register. Because confirmation, it has to be done in person. Confirmation has to be done in person. So you cannot be in New York and get confirmed. It has to be done in person according to the law, and it's done in Dominica. That's what the law says. So if it is done like this, and that no returning officer, registering officer accepts a dead person coming in and showing themselves for registration and then going back to the grave, then the electors list should be all right. However, we should remain vigilant, because 15 months after the list is produced and published, some registered electors would have died. And their name would be on the list. So again, the frequency with which the list, and I think it's every quarter, the list has to be updated. If those persons died within 3 months of the list being updated, then when that list is being published, the person's name should not be there. The question I'm asking, the reason I'm asking for an oversight body is for the purposes of being able to satisfy the public that what the commission is doing is above board. As they remove, the law requires that the registrar informs the commission or sends them a record of the registry of death. How many people who died in any quarter in Dominica? Once you get that from the registry, you should be removing the dead names. You shouldn't wait for me to come in and bring in a name and ask you to remove it. It should be removed because that is official. So the process of removing names of dead people on the list starts with that confirmation process. But 15 months after, the problem returns because people would have died and their name would be on that. So the accusation that somebody voted in the name of that dead person can arise. Hence the need for an oversight body that ensures that all the records can be checked and to make sure that whatever the commission is putting out is good. So that oversight body may be a parliamentary body or a body appointed by the president.
Yeah. All right, Mr. George, thank you very much. Final thoughts, because we must go in the interest of time.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Durant. We spoke on the RSS and their presence here. My emphasis was on the quality of intelligence furnished to the coordinating secretariat. Should be it should be enough to get the RSS to come here or into any contracting state to render service to the citizens of that contracting state whose security is imperiled. But my emphasis is on the quality of the intelligence product, and it should not be political whims or political biases. And on the electoral process, I am asking that everybody go in and get confirmed. And then there's something that arose. Somebody who is bedridden, I think provision is made for the registering officer to visit that person to get them confirmed. The other question is, on election day, the process, and again, these things must be publicized. The process of coming to the home of somebody who is unable to come to the registry, to the voting area or to the confirmation center, that must be said to us in public, in written form, so as to build confidence. There must be confidence building measures in the processes, because we have been duped in the past, and the possibility of us being duped in the future is high unless we put an oversight structure in place to ensure that what is being done today is being done ethically in the confirmation centers and in the Electoral Commission offices.
Some people believe that they're greater than.
Mr. Nicholas George, thank you very much for your thoughts, brother.
And they getting on as though they will never die.
Just a little past 8 minutes past the hour, 8 o'clock in Dominica. And that is where we must bring it to a wrap. It's imperative.
This should serve as a reminder.
Thank you, one and all.
All who playing holy and mighty. We tell them their fame and their money.
Thank you for your company.
When the master call, no ducking at all.
Hope that you learned something tonight.
The ground that we walk in.
That's the intention of Civic Vibes each and every time.
Boy, the ground that we walk in.
They say knowledge is what? Knowledge is what?
No exemption, no extension. When the master call, no friends could say.
John Doe, thank you very much, my brother.
When the master,
I hope you're a brother.
when the master call, when you got to go, you got to go.
Janice Jajak says, very informative. Thank you very much.
I said the ground that we walking on.
Hey, Jojo, good evening to you. Bernadette Myler, right? Thank you, Lofty, for a very informative program.
How you treat other.
Mr. George explained the voting process in Dominica in depth. Listening audience was given valuable advice to use in the future elections, or to use rather in future elections. Thank you, Bernadette. That's Joy Stout.
You could be the world's richest tycoon, the skyscraper.
Words of advice to all of us.
Create all kinds of man-made.
The ground that we're walking on today
And you must pay.
will be.
No place to run, no place.
As a matter of fact, it shall, as they say in parliamentary terms, shall be our roof tomorrow.
World,
So be careful, be very careful how you treat other people.
you better get it right before your final flight, cause later will be your flight. I say the ground that we walking on, one day will be your rule.
On an announcement note,
The ground that we walking on.
there will be absolutely no Civic Vibes program come next week Sunday.
There'll be no immunity.
Again, there will be no Civic Vibes program next Sunday. Take note.
Master call. No special favor for bachelor or master.
So on behalf of Mr. Nicholas George, who was our guest tonight,
When you got to go, you You got to.
And we at Civic Vibes, thank you very much, each and every one of you in Dominica, the region, and further afield.
One day we'll be.
Enjoy the rest of the night and a very, very good week ahead. Bye-bye. I love you.
Be careful how you treat other people. Listen and do right. We keep glorifying the things man made, you and I wonder why. And clearly forget the foundation that was laid for you and I wonder why. It's God who gave you man the wisdom, though no man could hold him for ransom. So I'll think that they are mightier than the Holy Ghost and the Father. Better stay in your lane, cause all you've obtained in a second could be regained. I say the ground that we walking on, one day will be your rule. Boy, the ground that we walking on, one day will be your rule. No acceptance of gifts from millionaire or chief. When the master call, no sacrifice of human blood or diversion afford. When the master call, when you got to go, no doctor can say no. I say the ground that we're walking on, one day must be your rule. Be careful how you treat other people.